So, if I can say good morning, good to see you all that decided to show up. I know it's kind of cold for some people and others, but this morning we're going to finish up a series of messages called Together. If you remember the last 3 weeks, we've been exploring this whole theme about being together, coming from Paul in his letter that he wrote to the book or to the church at Ephesus. For those that were with us the last 3 weeks, we've explored things like together as a church, as a group of God's people, we find peace. Together we find love. And then last week we talked about growing stronger together. And so today we're going to talk about an idea that together we can change the world. And so with that being said, I'm going to ask you this question. Who's your favorite superhero? And you probably didn't see that one coming. Who? Okay. Not really the one I'm looking for, but he's cool. Huh? Well, see, if you look at it, I'm talking about when we see these things, we could say that we're actually living in the golden era of superheroes. For instance, if you go out and look, there are a lot of these multi-million-dollar movies that are out today, and they're blockbuster heroes. If I was to talk to my grandkids, they could give you these. First, we kind of always remember Spider-Man and Batman. Now, we remember the Spider-Man and the Batman of the 50s and the 60s. Totally different than the Spider-Man or Superman and Spider-Man and Batman today. Y'all remember the costume that I wore of Spider-Man? The Spider-Man of the day that you and I grew up, he was basically kind of flat. He didn't have any muscles, okay? When you remember Superman, even back then, he just had basically, he looked okay. You know, the guy that played him really wasn't a very muscular man, okay? But yeah, you look at the Superman and the Batman today, and they've worked out. Some people say, they talk about six packs, and I think they got a couple, one on both sides, because if I can use the term, I think that they are completely ripped. But then when you go on, you find people like Captain America, Captain Marvel, right? You also find a guy that's out there by the name of the Black Panther. You'll find Thor, Wonder Woman. The Wonder Woman today looks nothing like the Wonder Woman. I was on MeTV. If you watch MeTV on Saturday night around 10 o'clock or even a little bit before, you'll see the old rerun of Wonder Woman. And when you look at her from back then, you think, that is not the way I remember her. She looked so skinny. you know, and everything. And it's like, really? Wow, maybe that was in my days. But you think about today, the movies that are out with the superheroes, the Avengers. How many of you all seen them? Most of the people in here are under the age of 20. You've seen the Avengers. How about the Justice League? The Guardians of the Galaxy. Some of you are looking at me like, what in the world are these things? See, you guys need to get your grandkids or great-grandkids, and you need to take them to the movie. Either that or you need to get a life and go. Or how many of you all remember Ant-Man? And you have people now who have these movies. Ant-Man, even Aquaman has a movie. And Shazam. And those are the ones that we remember from way back when. And so it really does. It seems like that everybody really loves superheroes. And I get it. They're kind of fun. They kind of have the embodiment of our imagination and all of these things that are there. And I don't know about y'all, but I think every one of us would really like to be kind of a superhero and have superpowers that just, I would love to zap that car in front of me out of my way, you know, or that person that's in the checkout line that says 15 items or less, and they got three carts. And I would like to really zap all of their produce and everything else and just explode it, you know, to a point where I can get in there and get in and get out. Or being in the doctor's office and you've got an appointment and your appointment is for 10:45 and you get there at 10 o'clock and there's already 20 people ahead of you. And they call the next person and you look over to the person beside you and said, what time was your appointment? And they tell you 7:30. And you realize, and this is going to be a long wait. Maybe if I could just kind of like have them all kind of disappear for a little while until they call me, and then I could do these things. But if we had these superpowers, we could do a lot of things. We could even fight for good. We could get rid of evil. We could restore justice. We could save the world. If we all had these superpowers that we could do, and they're all good ideas, but what the world needs is more superheroes like a gentleman who is bringing out a movie this Friday on the 22nd called A Good Day in the Neighborhood. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Rogers. So, in good superhero style, we're going to do a quiz. And we're going to do a quiz on superheroes versus Mr. Rogers to see who's going to win. So if I was to talk about raw strength and rugged good looks, I don't think Mr. Rogers is going to win. Yeah, you lost that one. So that's one for the superheroes and none for Mr. Rogers. But when it comes to superheroes and saving the world, it's really just make-believe. But if you go back to Mr. Rogers, what Mr. Rogers did was he used make-believe to open up the imagination of the kids. And can I say something to you all? He really made a big difference in the world. So if we're talking about not imagination, but reality, Mr. Rogers wins. So we're tied 1-1. And so I don't know if you saw this week, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday, was called National Kindness Day. And Mr. Rogers' wife, Faye, is still alive and well in Pittsburgh, where he's at. There was a hospital there. And in that hospital, all of the staff, everybody got together. And she came in the front door of a hospital. And coming into the foyer or the atrium of the hospital, and everybody was standing up along the railings and on the floors, and they were all singing the song, "It's a Good Day in the Neighborhood." And so they were singing that song as she came in. They took her up to the nursery, and every child that was born in that nursery, they had given them cardigans with a shirt and a tie and had them dressed up like Mr. Rogers. And every one of those children got to go home and keep that outfit. That show, Tom Hanks is showing in it. Diana and I got to go see the that's right, you didn't go, did you? No, she didn't get to go. I got to go. And I will tell you that it is one of the most greatest movies that I've ever seen. It will change your life to watch Tom Hanks playing him. It will give you some insight into Mr. Rogers that you never saw. Things behind the scene and all of those things. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So let's talk about superhero pride and arrogance. If I look at that, Mr. Rogers was not arrogant at all. He was very humble and quiet. Every day, he had a soft-spoken, friendly way. And every day, Mr. Rogers would always say this: "Do you know that you're very special?" To every child that came on that set, every child that he spoke to them and said, "Do you know how special you are?" And he would do this through there and all of the things. And here's what Mr. Rogers would always say: "I like you just the way you are." And in fact, he said, and he quoted, that he got into TV because he didn't like the way that TV and the culture were treating kids. That's why he got in it. I don't know how many of you all ever got to see behind the scenes of Uncle Al show, where a lot of times everybody thought he was really nice to the kids, and when the camera was off, he was the meanest snot in the world. He would belittle the kids. He would have them crying and everything else. But you would never see that with a kid coming off of Mr. Rogers' show. Let's just do one more. Superhero independence or Mr. Rogers cooperation. Now, if you think about it, how many superheroes did you see doing things by themselves, or did they always have a sidekick? Batman always had Robin. The Green Lantern always had Kato. And these things. And what you would see, and as you begin to see with the ones of the Galaxy, the Justice League, and all of those, they all team up together to fight the enemy and do those things. But when you look at Mr. Rogers built his whole career out of making others feel welcome and needed. He never made anybody who ever met him felt unwelcome or not needed around him. And I don't know how many of y'all know it, but Mr. Rogers was an ordained pastor. If you go back and you look at his bio, and if you look it up, you will find that he was ordained, I think, in a Presbyterian church. And he was a pastor. And he brought all of those beliefs into his show. And if you really look at it, what he did was he took the characteristics of Christ and he lived it out in real life. And he began to show things. And so, if we as a church are going to do what we need to do, we need to bring some more of this Mr. Rogers, where we create a space where people, all people, not just some people, but we need to create a space where all people are encouraged. Not just the ones you want, but everyone. Everyone that walks in these doors and everyone that becomes a member of this congregation should be encouraged. Everyone who walks in these doors, we should learn to dream with them. Just as Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. And I believe that every one of us has a dream. And we wish that people would come alongside of us to help fulfill those dreams. There are some times that people just want to be listened to. And so we need to create the environment to encourage them, to dream with them, to listen with them, and to walk with them. Not by major acts, but by very simple acts. The same way that Mr. Rogers changed the world. One person with very simple acts. And as a church, we fulfill the purpose of God as God's people here on this earth when we experience, as we begin to share the last 3 weeks, when we begin to share peace, unity, encouragement, kindness, and grace. Or, to summarize and put all of these together, we fulfill our purpose when we experience and live out God's love together and share it with the world around us. When we do that, we can change the world. I hear a lot of people say, you don't understand. We can't change anything. Yes, we can. Together, we can change the world. When Jesus left, ladies and gentlemen, he left 12 men who changed the world. With simple acts of encouragement, with simple acts of peace and unity, they worked together. We need to understand that changing the world doesn't require people to be superheroes. Use your imagination all you want to, but this isn't about your imagination and what you want. What it requires in order to change the world is a consistent choices to follow Jesus daily and to walk together on a journey as he leads us. Not separately, but together. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people aren't going to be here to listen to this, because this is a problem. You see, we need to look and explore. And so today we're going to go back to the book of Ephesians, but now we're coming not from the first half of the book, but we're going to go to the latter half of the book. And we're going to start this morning with Ephesians chapter 4 and verse number 32, continuing over into chapter 5 in the first 2 verses. Because in here is how our lives should affect our communities. personally, our families, our neighborhoods, in our community. And here it talks about how we can do this. Look at what he said. And be kind and compassionate. Not to some people. Not to who you choose. That looks like you, acts like you, believes like you, that's only in your family. He says, be kind and compassionate to one another. And doing what? Forgiving one another, just as God has what? Forgave you. Not just forgave you in Christ. Verse number 1. Therefore be imitators of God as dearly loved children. Verse number 2. And walk in love as what? As Christ, or as the Messiah also loved us and gave himself for us. A what? A sacrificial and fragrant offering to God. When they offered up their offerings to God, it was a sacrifice. Somebody had to die. And that offering was to bring a sweet fragrance to God. So, let's talk about how do we do this. The first one is we've got to dream big, but we've got to act small. I don't know about you all, but I believe that Mr. Rogers, if you go back and look at his life and everything, I believe he lived out the words, be kind to one another. Be tenderhearted. Forgive each other. Do you know one of the things that Mr. Rogers did? He carried a little book with him. And if you appeared on his show or he met you somewhere, he would always copy your name down in his book. And at night, when he would bow down in prayer, he would start praying for the people that he had came in contact with. If you had met him and you told him what was going on in your life, he had written it down. And he would remember you. And he would pray for you. He never told you that he was going to pray for you. He just did it. And this was part of who he really was. A lot of times when we think about making an impact in the world or change in the world, we get so hung up on superheroes or doing this or doing that, or at least things that kind of like Thomas Edison, who made the light bulb and all of these things, or Nelson Mandela, who brought an end to our apartheid in South Africa. It's easy for you to say. Or Steve Jobs, you remember him? Oh boy, did he ever affect your life with Apple. Changed the world. But listen to the list, what he said. He said, be tenderhearted, be kind, and forgive one another. That doesn't say that you're going to change the world by creating electricity or ending slavery or ending injustice in the world. He says to be kind, Be tenderhearted and forgive each other. Those, ladies and gentlemen, are fairly simple acts. They may not always be easy. But sometimes they can be real easy. For instance, be kind, tenderhearted, or forgiving. How about, and this one's kind of hard for me, just a smile. You ever walk into, and Rick has, I know, but you ever walked into a place where everybody is sitting there in a doctor's office, and did you ever look around? They're hurting, and they're in pain. You don't know what's going on in that person's life. And sometimes you think, I've got to talk to them, or I got to say something. No, you don't. Maybe all you got to do is just a smile. Or maybe you just say to them, hey, God's got this. Or look over at them and say, hey, I'm praying for you. Maybe it's as easy as giving 5 minutes to listen to somebody. For instance, in a doctor's office. Oh, no, you don't understand. I don't want to talk to that person. You know? Have you ever thought why you have to wait for the doctor? You don't get to go right in. Do you ever think that maybe God's giving you an opportunity to share something with somebody to change their life and you're not doing it? Because what do? Let's see how many likes I got this morning. The good thing that I like about my phone, I love it. When I go to UC at Westchester, I can't get anything on it. I can connect to their Wi-Fi, but I can't get any social media. I can't even get the internet. Which, guess what? Which says when I'm sitting there for 30 minutes, I'm either going to sit there and do nothing or play Candy Crush. Or talk to somebody. God has a way of forcing us into doing certain things. And maybe it's not just to talk to somebody, but just to smile, to say, hey, here we are. But let me say this to you. These little things of being kind and tender-hearted and forgiving, done by one person, multiplied by 50 people, what does it do? It begins to change how people react. Because what happens? I believe it is, Jesus says, or the Bible says, this, that two are stronger than one. And when three threads are joined together, it becomes very difficult to break. Put 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. What you begin to start building is a powerful force that cannot be beaten down. And this is why Jesus said, the gates of hell shall not prevail against my church. When we start obeying and displaying the characteristics of who God is, or still is, being kind and tenderhearted and forgiving, we build a force, ladies and gentlemen, that cannot be contained by Satan. When you begin to start thinking about others who we talk about who changed the world. Mozart in his music, Martin Luther King Jr. in all of his work that he did in bringing about civil rights to people, which gave us the equality that we needed. Mother Teresa, who went into places that nobody would go to and would feed the children and the orphans and the people, a lot of times putting her life at risk at some of the diseases that these people had. Adolf Hitler, even think about him and what he did in changing the world. He killed millions of people, but yet at the same time, what he did was he brought people together to fight against the principles of evil. When you look at Walt Disney and what did he do? You think about it now, what does Disney just started their streaming service? They now own Fox, all of Fox's movies. They also own all of Marvel's stuff. They also own all of Disney stuff. They also own another one. And they're doing, who is it? Star Wars. They bought all of this stuff. And they're streaming the lives that they changed with everything that they're doing. And you think about even the Beatles. Boy, did they ever change America in the life. And when you begin to see these and things that were there, you begin to look at these people and you begin to see that, you know, he or she, they're best known for their big impact. But what were the steps that they did along the way to make this? And you think about it. Let's just take the Beatles, for instance. Paul McCartney did not change the world. John Lennon did not change the world. Ringo Starr did not change the world. George Harrison did not change the world or music by themselves. But you take Paul and Ringo and George and John and you put the four of them together, and guess what they did? They changed music. They changed it. And they began to start doing this. They didn't do it alone. And when we see where the changes was for good, we see small steps. And people who didn't act alone. Even if some of the work was by an individual, they didn't do it in isolation. Other people influenced them, they partnered with them, and played a role in their accomplishments. And so what we need to understand is that sometimes we get so hung up on viewing and changing the world as one giant mission. And we think for it to be real and meaningful, it has to be one big, huge, impressive change. And what we do is we fall into this negative comparisons of everyday life is where we're going. And what we do is we start talking about all of this to someone's single most greatest accomplishment. But let me say this. Changes come by being consistent over time. We talked about this last week, like the water that flows from the Mississippi all the way to the Delta of New Orleans. It starts by a small, small drop of water at the very beginning of the mouth. And then by the time it gets to the Mississippi, the banks or New Orleans, it's not just a small little piece of water or drop of water. It's now a huge deluge. And as that water begins to start picking up more and more water as it's coming down through there, the force that it brings at the end of the mouth of that water when it goes into the Gulf, and it pushes everything along with it, all of the water and the mud and everything else. That's why the Delta at the end of the New Orleans there is so rich, because all of the soil from Iowa and Kansas and Missouri and Ohio and everything just goes down and gets deposited there. And it becomes a fertile place. But it makes a big, huge. If you go out into Utah, there are these arches right in the middle of the desert. Guess how they got there? Somebody picked them up and put them on a truck from Ohio. They built them in Ohio, you know. They carved them out, and they put them on a big truck, and they just took them out there and stuck them in the middle of the desert. No, it started as a big rock in the middle of the desert. And God brought along a wind and picked up those little bitty pieces of sand and pebbles, and they began to start nicking away at that rock, beating it with such impact that eventually that big rock became one big arch. They didn't blow them up with dynamite. Sometimes we forget that what God is trying to tell us, ladies and gentlemen, is our simple acts of kindness put together will blow up this world. Will make an impact on this world and the people that live in it. We have come to a point of believing the enemy that we can't make an impact on people. That they're too far gone. They aren't too far gone to God to change them. Somebody did this. And that is why, as a church, we can change the world. And this is the problem. This is why I keep trying to tell y'all. And I wish you would take this message to people that you know aren't here because they won't listen to me. And that is this. There is not one single person in this church that is a member of this church that isn't coming to this church that is making an impact in anybody else's life by not coming here. Can't do it. You can't do it by yourself. God didn't make you to do it by yourself. He made us to join together because this, ladies and gentlemen, a church is where we come to find support. I don't come here to tell you all how lovely and great I am. I come here because I get support from you all that you love me. That you have decided that yes, we are going to become co-laborers. That when a child walks through these doors, we're going to do the best we can together to reach the soul and the life of that child. If somebody else walks through this door, then we become friendly. Not become, because we are. And the things that we need to understand is that sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, we need to become cheerleaders. Not, hold on a minute, look at what I've done, cheer me on, man, give me a hand, pat my back, praise me. No, when somebody does something, cheer them on. If somebody's struggling and they're coming and you know they're coming on, say, listen, I appreciate you. I thank you for coming today. And I do. I thank each and every one of you all for coming today. You could be somewhere else. You could be cuddled up on the couch. You could be sitting there watching on TV. You can do whatever you want to do. But you chose to come to get encouragement from one another. Because why? As soon as you walk out this door, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to get hit. You're going to get hit. And if you don't come to get refueled, if you don't come to become as co-laborers and come to a safe place, this is what I have a problem with churches all the time. We keep talking about people, what they don't do or what they're doing, you know? Like, hey, we don't want that kind of, it's like, if you're an alcoholic, we don't want you. If you're a drug addict, we don't want you. You got tattoos, hang your tattoos somewhere else. You don't have clothes, you don't have the nice Jordache ain't even around anymore, is it? Shows how old I am. I don't know, what is it? NY Kentucky 25 or something? NYKY something? I don't know what it is. It's whatever the name brands are. And if you don't wear the name brands, we don't want you. No. What we need to understand is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're schizophrenic, bipolar, triple polar, quadruple polar, and whatever. We come here for support and to support each other. We're not all the same, thank God. We're different. But what we do is we come here to be kind and tenderhearted and forgiving one another, sacrificing together. Not one person sacrificing, everybody sacrificing. Because that's what he's called us to do. So why? So that on this journey, ladies and gentlemen, we grow together to be authentic Christians. Not fakes. Authentic. I can go to a lot of other places with a lot of other people and get there and feel really good because I've done a huge project to the community. Look at what we did. We built this house for this one family. And the newspaper will give you all the accolades that you want. But let's talk about the one person that you talked to that you weren't even aware of that was just about ready to give their life up. And that one person that you were talking to that was just about ready to give their life up have 5 kids sitting at their house waiting for them to come home. And their plan was they would be better off without me. Somebody will take them. But yet you took 5 minutes out of your life to share a story with somebody who was hurting. And that person went back to those 5 kids and loved them. And went back to those 5 kids and showed them what true love really was like. They didn't have a lot. But let me say this to you. What's the price tag for loving somebody? You can't buy it. It's sacrificing. And God says that's not cheap. So, when you get into the latter portions of Ephesians, where we're going to go, you begin to start seeing that what he begins to start talking about is, remember in Ephesians chapter 5, later on, what does he talk about? Fathers loving your children. Husbands loving your wives. Wives submitting yourselves unto your husband, which you don't like to hear because you get this other idea of what people were talking about. What is he talking about? He begins to start talking about how families are changed by loving one another. You want to know the problem with the American family today? Is there's too many prima donnas in each one of them. The kids only care about themselves and the parents only care about themselves. And nobody's caring about each other. It's like, I'll see you when you turn 18 and I kick you out. It's like the thing I posted this week. There was a kid in his 20s. He looked like he was like 29 or 30 years of age. And he was still sitting in front of a monitor playing a game. And his father comes up behind him and he says, "Hey, I want to show you this really neat game. It's got all of these twists and turns in it, and all of these unexpected things that are there, and you'll never know what's going to happen around the next turn. And I would really like to show you that game." And he says, "Really? I'd like to play it." So his father shows him the door. It says, now that's life. Not reality of sitting behind here. But what we fail to realize is that so many times we need to give people compassion instead of sometimes anger in those things. And so Ephesians chapter 5, verse number 2 said, living a life filled with love, following the example of Christ, who he loved and offered himself as a sacrifice for us in a pleasing aroma becoming to us. And so what we need to also do is this. We need to understand what is eternal. Okay? And so when we start talking about being united, which we talked about, Paul warned the church at Ephesus that they must be prepared to fight for their community. He didn't say fight their community. He said fight for their community. Here's the difference. You elect politicians, and they all have these ideas of what they want. And what do? Here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to give you jobs. Or let's do the new stuff that's coming out. Here's what I'm going to do for you. I am going to give you a college education. Free. I am going to give you medical help. Free. I'm going to give you a house to live in. Free. I'm going to give you all your food. Free. And how many votes did they get? A whole bunch. I think it was somebody told me once, there is nothing in life free. It's going to cost somebody. An education, somebody has to be paid, because I'm going to tell you something right now. I have never ever seen a professor go into a college and not take any money. Somebody's got to pay that professor. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I have never walked into Kroger yet where I can get a basket of groceries and just walk out the door. I can, but I'm probably not going to go home with my groceries. I think my groceries are probably going to go back on the shelf, and I'm going to go get a place to live for a while. No, it isn't, because somebody's got to watch after me, and somebody's got to pay that person to watch after me. I may not be paying. Well, I'm still paying for it. I don't care what you say. I'm still paying for it. What was it? I was reading something that somebody had been in prison for so many years, and they're suing the government for $220,000. And they're saying, why? And they said, because they kept me in here, and they should have been giving me minimum wage for my work that I was doing. And I'm saying, okay, give them the $220,000. Go ahead, give them the $220,000 and charge them rent for the 40 years that they were living there. And I don't know about y'all, but any of y'all got a 30-year mortgage for $150,000, and tell me, how much did it cost you? It didn't cost you $150,000. I think if you look at it, it costs you somewhere close to $450,000 to $500,000 that you pay for that house over the time of that house is what you pay. Okay, recognize eternal. Here we go. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 12. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 12. We're coming to the end of this thing, okay? Here's what he says. Finally, be strengthened by the Lord and by his vast strength. Verse 11 says, put on what? Full armor, not a partial plate. The full armor of God, so that you can stand against the tactics or wiles of the devil. For our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the world powers of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil, he says, in the heavens. So when we know that the real battle, ladies and gentlemen, is a spiritual battle, it helps us put all of the rest of this stuff in perspective. We're not in church, honestly. How many churches have split because somebody wanted a different color of pews, or somebody wanted a different color of carpet, or the women's bathroom has better looking toilets than the men's? Who cares? Really? We don't come to worship the carpet or the pews. We don't come to worship the music. We come to worship the Lord. And let me say this. I can worship the Lord on a hollowed out oak or timbered slot of wood as long as it's flat with no splinters. If it gets splintered, I might get the spirit. And I might not be sitting long in the service. Okay? I can worship the God in a purple, pink, orange, green, or whatever. As a matter of fact, you can put on rose-colored glasses and it'll all change to whatever color you want it to be. Okay? I can worship God in a song that was written in 4000 AD or BC, or a new song that was written last week. It isn't the song that brings me to worship. It is my heart and my compassion that brings me to worship. It is the Word of God, and it is He. We focus on things. Paul says this in Ephesians 6:18. He says, with every prayer and request, pray at all times in the what? In the Spirit. And stay alert in this with all perseverance and intercession for all the saints. He says, listen, why does he want us to pray this away? He wants us to refocus. And that's what prayer is all about, ladies and gentlemen. Prayer is all about refocusing where we're at and what's going on in our life. When I start out praying to God with what's bothering me, do that. And the more I get into the prayer, the more I'm less focused on what's bothering me. And the more I'm focused on what's bothering Him. The less I'm concerned about what I'm saying and what He's saying. I've ran out of stuff to say. He's just gotten started. And sometimes we forget these things are eternal. And the last thing is to stay connected. Some people get mad at me because they say, you delve on this subject too much. I want to take you to a verse, 3 verses, as a matter of fact. And I'm going to show you why what I've been telling you for a long time is important. I'm not harping on you. But you have to take this message out of these walls for me. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 23 to 25. We have got a major problem right now. Look at what he says. Let us hold on to the confession of our hope without wavering. For he who promised is faithful. Stop right there. Don't bring it back, Mark, to 23, would you? Let us hold on. Let us hold on to the confession of our hope. What is our hope, ladies and gentlemen? Jesus Christ, salvation, eternal life, the love, that unconditional love that he has for me. That's my hope. Without wavering. Without wavering. Without wavering. Why? For he who promised is faithful. What did he promise? What did he promise? Yeah. When you start talking, thinking about what did he promise you? He promised you eternal life. He promised to be with you without end. He promised to take care of you. He promised to watch over you. He promised to bring you into his presence. He promised is faithful. He's faithful. He's faithful. Whatever he has promised, he is faithful. Which means he is incapable of lying to me. He never told me that this was going to be easy. As a matter of fact, he promised me, ladies and gentlemen, and he promised you, they are going to hate you because they first hated me. They're going to persecute you because they persecuted me. Paul says, I count it a blessing and an honor to suffer with Jesus Christ. He's faithful. It's going to happen. It will happen. Do I like it? No. But he told me it's going to happen. Verse number 24. And let us be concerned. Let us be concerned about one another in order to promote love and good works. Let us be concerned about one another in order to promote love and good works. Don't go to 25 yet. What are we called to do? We're supposed to be concerned about one another in order to promote love and good works. You following me? 25. Read it. Let it sink in. Not staying away from our meetings. What does this mean? I didn't say it, so don't shoot the messenger. I didn't say it. This is where I will argue with the people till I die that says you do not have to come to church. Then what I'm telling you is go back to verse number 24. Mark. How can you tell me that you love me and that you're concerned with me and that you're promoting love and good works when you never show up? But look at what he said in verse number 25. Not staying away from our meetings as some habitually do. But look at this. But encouraging each other, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. Let me say this, and you can tell them that I said this, and that you're only the messenger, so don't shoot them. Don't shoot you. If they got a complaint with that, they can make an appointment and come see me. And I'll show them the same thing. How many of you all believe that it's not going to be long before Jesus comes back? Huh? Hold your hands up real high if you believe. Do you believe the world's getting any better? What did Jesus say? That it's going to get worse. That it's going to get worse. What did he say? But encouraging each other, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. How can I encourage you? How can you encourage me? What did he say? We encourage each other by coming together, meeting together in church, and promoting love. Even more so. Churches should be filled more today than ever before. Than ever before. There should never be an empty seat in a church building. Churches should not be closing. They should be expanding. They should be expanding. Encouraging each more. But what happens? We've got schedules, we've got commitments, we've got disagreements, and we've got loneliness. People say, you don't understand. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares. Hold on a minute. Do you go to church? Within the walls of a church, nobody should ever say that they're lonely. Unless you choose. Because in a church, ladies and gentlemen, we should all be supporting each other. Now, I'm not saying that everybody in here has to be friends with each other. This is why we should be friends. Let me rephrase this. What I'm saying is this, and we talk about it all of the time. How many of you all have ever gone to a Cincinnati Reds game? Everybody? It's gone to a Cincinnati Reds game. How many people do you think is probably in that stadium? On a good day, that's right. But I think they can seat right around and fill it up at right around 42,500 or 45,000, something like that. Now let me ask you this question. You're all sitting in that stadium, 45,000 people. Baseball game's going on and a home run gets hit and everybody's screaming and hollering. Are you really connected to the other 44,999 people? You might be connected to the small little group of people that's right next to you. And you might be all yelling and all screaming and all hollering and feeling connected because that may be a group that you came with. Okay? This is why I say to you all, and I can't say it any stronger. Staying connected in a church. Staying connected in a church, ladies and gentlemen, is not coming in here and sitting in all these pews. Because I'm going to tell you right now, how many? 55? Okay, I missed 12. 67 people. I will guarantee you that out of the 67 people, that's including the children, right? Okay, so let's drop the kids. let's just, for a round number, say 50 people. I will guarantee you that all 50 of you people have not been connected to each other this week. I would venture to say that probably some of you have only been connected to one or two. I would venture to say that some of you have only been connected about 5 or 10. I'm the pastor, and I have not been connected to all of you this week. And you say, oh, bad pastor, bad pastor. No, that's not a bad pastor. I've been doing a lot of other stuff. I got somebody dying. I got a family that I've been ministering to. I got other things. And it's not that I don't love you, it's just that I can't get to all of you in 1 week. But let me say this to y'all. This is why I say to you, get into a small group and stay connected. Because when you don't get connected, you lose it. And you can't make the impact that needs to be made. You can't do this by yourself. And coming on Sunday morning is great and wonderful. But people that need to be here aren't here. They're not promoting. They're not doing these things. And we need to live life together. They did in the early church, ladies and gentlemen. They got together. And this is what we've been talking about for the last 3 to 4 weeks. Let me say this to y'all. I can't pull up anything. I can pull up a Facebook post that I had, and I might find a Facebook post on here where I've got 45 to 50 people that might have liked it. But let me say something to you. Out of the 45 to 50 people that may have liked my post, I probably only know 1 or 2 of them. The others are from all over the place that I haven't talked to in ages. Or all of a sudden you start getting friend requests of somebody and you're trying to figure out who is this. And all of a sudden you look and there's, oh, okay, they're so-and-so and so-and-so, you know. Okay, well, I know that so-and-so, but I don't know them. Social media is not a way of connecting. Okay? It really isn't. It's a way for us to hide behind things. It's a way to share information. I understand that, but in order, and you're getting. Here's what you're getting, and let me share with you why I'm going this direction. There are people that are starting online Bible study groups and Facebook groups, and so what do people do? Here's what they're doing. They're joining Facebook groups for Bible study, but not coming to church. And they're saying they're staying connected. No, you're not. That person in California is not in my community. I can't touch them. I can't look them in the eyes when I'm talking to them. They can hide behind what they're saying by just putting down in words. And I really don't know where they're coming from because I can't see them. I don't know that they really don't care. And as a matter of fact, I don't even know if that's the person that they say they are. It could be somebody totally different. It could be somebody from Japan or Saudi Arabia or Bangladesh or wherever. I don't know where they're from. And saying, I'm connected to them? No, I'm connected to an image. And God is saying no, because what we need to understand is living as part of God's family, ladies and gentlemen, it matters. Now you may say that I'm trying to knock you. I'm not. I'm saying I am thanking you for your faithfulness. I am thanking you for being a part of this and showing up every Sunday. But let me say, it does matter when we don't come together. If this pattern continues, ladies and gentlemen, there won't be places to meet. It won't. And people, I got really upset this week because it bugs the daylights out of me. And here's what I hear. We have a homeless population in Middletown. And let me say this. I don't know if you read the newspaper and find this out, but do you know that Monroe is dropping off their homeless people here in Middletown? Do you know that Franklin and others are dropping off their homeless here in Middletown? Cincinnati is bringing their homeless up to Middletown and dropping them off. They don't have any room where they're at. And if I can get rid of them, like for instance in Monroe, they don't have a downtown area. So I can bring them into a downtown area when they can get food and other things and shelter and all of this stuff. So they're just dropping them off. Okay, Shalom, which is part of the churches who have homeless and all this stuff, and they bring them into the churches and they do this. They do this from the 1st of December to the end of April, or 1st of April, somewhere in that. So on social media, they started complaining, why don't the churches open up their doors and bring in all of the homeless people? And my question to them is this, then why don't you start supporting the church and give us the money to turn on our lights to be able to, or the heat, to be able to do this? You want me, you want us to do everything for you, but you don't want to support us? We're not here to support the community, to give away everything. What we are here to do, in all honesty, in reality, we could shut the building down and go to the streets and preach and tell people. And then where are we going to put them? We don't have a building. And if it keeps up, there ain't going to be no buildings. And guess where the homeless are going to be going? They're going to be going in somebody's house because they want to get out. And you got a house. And guess what? I'm going to take your house. I don't know if you've seen what's going on, but there are some people who think they own their house, and they go to sell their house and they find out they don't own it because somebody else has gotten your deed and they've got it in their name. It's wild, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on. And this is why I'm saying that he says, do you not understand that it's more important now than ever before why we should be coming to church as we see the day approaching? Because we have got to start connecting with each other. Because we are living in a world that is collapsing. Look at our legislatures. Come on. The whole thing is, how can I get more? How can I get more power? Not how can I do something for you. How can I gain more power over you? The Bible says it's coming. It's coming when the government will control everything. It's almost here. In some places in the world, it already is here. And we are not far behind. I am warning you, please stay faithful. It does matter. It does matter. Jesus, ladies and gentlemen, got with a small group of people, and he stayed with that group of people. We need to do the same. We need to start connecting with each other and loving each other. So why? So we can change the world through him. Through him. One small step at a time. Because if we don't, what do we leave to those behind us?
Hello, this is Pastor Chuck Cotton from Calvary Baptist Church. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for taking the time out to either listen to our sermon or to watch it on video. We are grateful that you've actually taken the time and hope and pray that it has been a blessing to you as it was to us as we delivered it to our congregation. We ask if you have any questions whatsoever that you email us at pastorchuck@calvarybaptistmiddletown.org, or you could come in and give us a phone call, if you would please, at area code 513-423-7251. I'd like to take this opportunity to also invite you to come to our church and visit us, if you would please. We actually have small groups on Sunday morning starting at 9:30 with our morning worship. Prior to our morning small groups, we also provide donuts with coffee, milk, orange juice, a time for fellowship, get to know each other, have a good time before we actually break out into our small groups for Sunday. Our worship services are uplifting, they're fast moving, and everything in our service is just a fast pace. But we do take time every once in a while to slow down as we feel the Holy Spirit moving, and we never want to hinder it in any way. We also have on Sunday evening, during the school year, we have Awana, and Awana starts with the Puggles, actually from age 2 all the way up through high school. And during that period of time, we also have a worship service. Both of these start at 6 o'clock and end at 7:30. Our Wednesday night, we have a Bible study, which starts at 7. We generally finish about 8:15. We would love for you to come and visit with us. Don't have to dress up. Just come as you are, because to us, it doesn't matter. You're a child of God, a creation of His, and so to us, you're important to everything that we do. Our motto here is building the kingdom one life at a time, and we hope that we have a chance to visit with you, get to know you as you get to know us. So thank you, and may God bless you.